Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Rich and you've turned into another episode of Wristwatch Rescue, where yours truly attempts to rescue vintage watches from the past. Today on the bench, I've got this crazy mystery dial. I've never seen one of these before. Supposedly, these little diamond-looking flat panel inside that watch moves. Now, it's not running right now, so I really don't know what it's going to look like when it is. But this watch came to me from a friend of my wife's. Her father was an auto mechanic, and he had this watch, and he only wore it on special occasions. Now, she wants me to get it running because she wants to hand it down to her son, who wants to wear it. And so it's a special watch, and I'll see if I can get it going here. Now, it barely moves. It looks pretty dirty. So I'm going to need to give it a full service. That means tear it down, clean it, and then put it back together and lubricate it and see if we can get it running. Now, hopefully, everything will work after I clean it. But if not, I can get a donor watch for this. I've seen several of them on eBay, and I'm going to have to make sure I can get them quickly if I need it. Now, this dial, or this seconds hand, is a flat disc. It's very unusual. That's why I called it the mystery disc, or mystery dial watch. Now, let's see if I can pry it off. There we go. Yes, yes. Okay, that's always a good start. This would be one, if you broke it, it would be hard pressed to find a replacement for it. So I'm going to be very careful with it and put it in the dial box, along with the minute hand and the seconds hand. And I think I'll just put some new paint on those. Those are pretty rusty. But the dial is pretty chewed up too. So let's put it in a little movement holder here and see what we've got. And get the first we'll get the dial off with these 2 feet. Now, it didn't want to come off too easily. So what I had to do was take my one of my tools and poke that foot out through the front of that movement to get it off of there. And there it goes. There it goes. So we'll keep that in the dial box and keep it nice and safe until we need it. Now, let's see. That looks normal. Now, the keyless works. Now, the keyless works, the reason they call this a keyless works is back in the day with pocket watches, they actually used keys to set the watch. But then as we evolved into wristwatches, that wasn't practical, so they invented this little system with the yoke and the sliding pinion and the clutch and the stem on the crown. But they didn't have a name for it, so they just called it keyless works. Now this guy, I went to take that cannon pinion off, but it wasn't even fixed and fitted. It just came right off. So it's a difference. Now, here's the funny thing. There's not a single jewel in this watch. When I was looking at it under the microscope, there's actually a little statement that says 0 jewels, and they're definitely right. There's no jewel whatsoever in this thing. But a good pinion lever watch like this can run pretty good. I mean, they don't run very good for very long. They require a lot more service because the base plate and the bridge are brass. And of course, the pinions of the wheels are steel. So eventually they're going to wear the hole in the pivot hole larger, and the watch will get sloppy and not run as well. Now you can close those holes up a little bit when with a staking set. Now this one doesn't look too bad. Neither does the keyless works. This is your setting lever and your sliding pinion, and that other one was your clutch. They all look in great shape, and that's partly because they're made of steel. Now I'm going to remove this crown wheel. It's got 2 screws. They're kind of off center. Yeah, whoops, that went flying. Now let's get the ratchet wheel off of there and see how our mainspring looks. Well, it looks pretty good. There's a little dirt in there, very dry. Now the next thing I want to do is take this little cap off that holds the pinion of the pin lever. Now they call this a pin lever, and part of the reason here on the pallet fork, you can see those two little pins down on the ends of those arms. They're just little pins, and that's where it gets its name, pin lever, instead of a jewel like a Swiss lever that has jewels on the end. So it was a very basic thing. I think it started back in the 1850s. So let's get this train of wheels bridge off and see how the wheels look. So far, so good. Let's see how the escapement wheel looks pretty good. You see how the teeth on this escapement wheel are different than what you normally see on a Swiss lever watch? And then, of course, this is your third wheel. It looks okay. And then the second wheel's fine too, it looks like. Now there's a like a minute wheel back up underneath the mainspring barrel here. We're going to have to take a look at that. I'm not sure how that works. So what I'm going to do is give it a little bit of a gentle tug because that barrel wasn't coming off. Okay, it was just stuck, just dirt. That's all it was. Oops, it slid that down. But now it'll lift off. So now you can see there's a nothing on the bottom of that. There is a barrel arbor in there. We'll have to take it apart here after a while. Now there's this little cover plate. Let's see what it does. It's covering up this main wheel under here. Now, oh, okay, now I see it. It's actually a second ratchet wheel. So you got two intermediate wheels over here. So when you wind the watch, it's actually winding that gear on the bottom, but then the click up on top is actually the second ratchet wheel. So there's a bottom ratchet wheel and a top ratchet wheel. So now you can see all the parts. I've got them in the little containers here, and I'm going to put them in the baskets like I normally do and get these guys into the washing machine. Now, I've sped that up so it's a lot easier. Now, here's my little L&R machine. I'm going to put it in the wash first. Now, I have started a Patreon page. For those of you who don't know what Patreon is, it's a place for you to go and donate to your favorite creators or artists, whatever you like. It's a totally different site than YouTube. It has nothing to do with YouTube. But it's a way for you to give back to creators such as myself. On my page, I have 3 different levels. It started at $4 and go up. But you can just make a monthly contribution. And if you like what you see and want to keep me going here, every little bit helps. And then part of it is you get your name in that little scrolling list and get a shout out from me. Now, here's a dilemma that I don't run into too often. I normally use a mainspring winder, but this one I just don't have one that will work. So I'm going to have to wind it by hand. So it's not impossible and it's not good best practices, but it can be done. It's very tedious and very hard on the fingers, but if you just keep pulling on it and keep pulling on it, eventually you'll get it all the way down to the right size and you'll be able to pop it back into the barrel. Now, with that said, let me get this little plate back there. Now, first of all, look how clean this brass looks after I put it through that machine. It looks like a brand new spanking watch. I mean, it was pretty dark if you remember how it looked in the other before I put it through the wash machine. Now, it's going to hold this down. Now, this thing is very loose, very odd. But what I found out is it just kind of connects with the bottom of that barrel. Just got to get it in there and just kind of push it down. Very gently. Yeah. And then we can start putting the wheels back in. And this is your second wheel. Of course, the reason that's called the second wheel is your mainspring barrel is actually your first wheel. And this is the escape wheel, or the fourth wheel, some people call it. Notice how the teeth on this are a lot different than this, a lot of the Swiss lever teeth on the escapement wheels. And then here's your third wheel. Now, what I figured out is that third wheel actually goes over, and the teeth intertwine with that second wheel. In other words, that third wheel is going to turn the mystery dial on the other side. So we're going to drop the bridge back on here very gently. Make sure everything gets in its pivot. There we go. Well, that was easy. Didn't have to play a whole lot with them. Just kind of fell right in place. Unusual. That usually doesn't happen. As you can see, it's turning really, really easy now. And you can see that minute wheel, or excuse me, that seconds wheel under the barrel spinning too, being driven by that third wheel. So we're going to get this all tightened up. Now I'm holding it down, the plate with my other hand and my other tweezers, just because I don't want it to pop up while I'm screwing it down, because that could be disastrous. I just don't want to break a pinion on this, because I really don't want to have to replace one. Now I'm going to put a little Mobius 9010 oil on there. Now it's actually the lightest oil that we use in this hobby. And then I'm going to set the pin lever in there. It's not. I had to fight with that one a while. It didn't want to go in the hole real easily. There we go. Almost there. See, I had to get those pin levers in between the teeth on the escapement wheel. Then I can drop this little upper, I don't want to say jewel, but it's not, and that holds the top of the pin lever. And now, let's see. Let's make sure it gets in the hole. Yes, yes. Okay, now we just got to tighten that down. Let's see what it looks like now. Now, everything's bouncing back and forth like it's supposed to. That's good. So I'll put a little 8200 on the plate here where the crown wheel is going to sit. This is the outer edge of the crown wheel, the part that's going to actually engage with the click. And then here's your center section of your crown wheel. A couple screws hold it down. Very simple design on this. Not a whole lot of extra parts or pieces in this watch, which is kind of enjoyable. I mean, it's different. Very simple design, but still it works pretty good. And I've never seen a click engage with the crown wheel instead of the ratchet wheel. Usually that click up there would be holding the ratchet wheel that I'm putting on there and screwing down, instead of actually stopping the crown wheel. Unusual. So I'm going to put a little of this blue grease down in this hole, and this is where the stump for the setting lever is going to go through, and it'll meet it's threaded on the other end, and I'm going to flip it over and hold it with my finger. It's always kind of a funny ballet when you do this, because you got to hold it with one finger, drop the setting lever on that screw, and then hold that and flip it back and tighten it down, all with one hand. So it's always fun to do that, but it's doable. Now, the next thing I want to do is drop in the clutch. Now, here again, I'm putting a little bit of this blue grease, and it's actually 9501 Mobius, for those of you who are interested in that. And what it does is it reduces the friction between these two parts, because this is where you wind it and you set it. So when you're winding a watch, you're putting a lot of torque into that stem, and of course those parts are gonna rub pretty hard against each other. So as you can see, I've got the stem in there. Now I'm tightening on the setting wheel, and you can see how it moves back and forth. And we'll put a little bit more blue grease right on the center of that sliding pinion, and then drop my yoke/yoke spring back on top. Now the springing action, let's see, let's get it over this stump here. There you go. There, now I just push that back, and it's simple. One screw, very simple design. This watch was very simply made, but it seems, we're going to see if it works very well after we get it back together. So with that said, I'm going to put a little bit more grease where the setting lever engages with the yoke, and then back here where the setting lever engages with the stem. Now I'm going to put a little bit of oil, 90-10, on that center pinion, because my cannon pinion is not snug fit. It needs to freely turn. And then here's your hour wheel. That's the hour hand will actually attach to that. Now I've actually cleaned this balance by itself in one dip. Now I'm very gently dropping a bit of oil in there because there isn't a jewel to take apart. So I'm just dropping the oil in with my oiling stick. Here again, that's 90-10. So it's time to drop the balance into the movement for the moment of truth. See what we get. Because like I said, it wasn't running when we got it. Let's see if it's going to give us anything once we get it in position. Yeah, gently, gently. Almost there. It's pushed on the base. Oh, come on, you can do it. One more time. There we go. Now, let's put the screw in. That might help a little bit, because I know we're in the holes. There we go. No, we weren't. Okay, there we go. There's the best moment in watchmaking. When you take a watch that's not working and you get the balance clicking and get it up and moving. So it's always a good sight to see. Sometimes you just like to sit there and watch it. But you can see I'm going to put a little more oil on that pivot up there on the top, and on the bottom of, this is actually the bottom of the balance jewel, because it's got a little cover plate. It just basically keeps the oil in place. A little screw to keep it tight. Get that little tiny screw. That is a tiny one. There. Now let's put it on the time grapher. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am unbelievably surprised. Look at this, 2 seconds. Okay, the amplitude's not the greatest in the world, but 0.2 on the beat error. Well, I'll take that all day long. Now let's put this dial back on and get this watch running. Get it back in its owner's hands is what I want to do. Now let's see if I can get it back in those holes. There we go. Now that little brass washer that I put on is called a dial washer. And what that does is it puts pressure on the hour wheel from the dial. In other words, that hour wheel is not pressure fitted on anything, so that that dial washer holds it down. So whenever you see a dial washer, you need to replace it, definitely. So let's just get the hour hand on here first. Gently, there we go. Oh, it's moving nicely. And then we'll get the minute wheel on. Get it all at midnight, get it lined up. Use the little press here, press it down. And just make sure, turn it around, make sure nothing is dragging. Now, we'll get this mystery wheel or dial, there we go. I got it on. It was kind of a struggle. That's why I cut away for a second. But look at that crazy thing. Now, the other thing that's crazy about this watch is this crystal. I didn't take it out of the case because the numbers and the indices are on the inside of that crystal. Plus, in the center of that crystal, there's a bubbly surface. So if I was to take that out and break that crystal, I would never, ever find a crystal like that again. So now I'm just going to snap it together. And look at this crazy thing. When it moves, okay, the diamond, when the seconds hand moves, there's optical reflections in the crystal too. And Pavia, I hope your son enjoys this watch when you give it to him. And as much as I've enjoyed working on it, because it's been a real treat to see something I had not seen before. So as always, thanks for coming along, and I will see you on the next one.